What's up YouTube and knife people, I'm Joe, you're watching my channel Ink&Iron, back today with a full review of this very cool looking knife. This is the Viper Knives Belone or Belone. If you know better than me how to pronounce it, please drop it in the comments below. But this is an Italian made knife by the Viper company. They're based in Maniago, Italy, and the designer on this is Jesper Voxnaes, as you can see right there with the little Vox symbol. I like Jesper's designs a lot, and this is no exception. The price on this blade, according to Blade HQ when I looked this up, $172.95 US currency. There are other models available. The price swings a few dollars here and there, but you're looking at around 170, 180 US dollars for this particular blade here in 2022. Oh my god. The blade length on here is 87.2 millimeters or 3.43 inches. The stock thickness on this guy, this measurement right here at the thickest point, 3.17 millimeters or 125 thousandths of an inch. The steel is M390. The grind on this guy is actually, I'm calling it a high height saber grind, because it doesn't continue all the way up this blade. It is technically a saber grind, in my opinion. There's always going to be varying opinions on that. The blade shape here, I'm calling it somewhere between a drop point and a clip point, because the blade does not simply extend out following the spine. It does drop down like a drop point. But the way this wedge is cut out, kind of a clip point, a little bit. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. The behind the edge thickness, so the thickness right behind the edge bevel here, is 0.58 millimeters or 23 thousandths of an inch. It is very fine cutting edge on this guy. The handle material is a stone-washed titanium with a carbon fiber overlay. I really like this design. This is what other people have called shadow boxed, where you have an overlaid handle and then the underlying material actually extends out underneath it. So kind of a shadow box style design there. The handle thickness, so in this dimension, is consistent at 11.8 millimeters or 0.46 inches, almost a half inch. The handle length, so this dimension right here, 114.2 millimeters or 4.5 inches. The lock type is actually a frame lock, and important note here, there is no hardened steel insert. It is just titanium on the M390 blade tang. And as you can see, there is a detent ball press fit in there as well. The opening mechanism is a flipper tab. I know it doesn't look like much, but that is technically a flipper tab. And no, it's not a front flipper, it is a back flipper. Just like that. The weight on this guy is 80.7 grams or 2.85 ounces. So a fairly light carry, especially given the blade length. The maximum width in the pocket, this is one of my specific measurements, right around here, is 25.6 millimeters or right on 1 inch wide. So this is the maximum amount of protrusion it's going to have from the side of your pocket into the depth of your pocket. So if you have to slide your wallet or your keys past that, this is a useful measurement to have. The number of clip positions is actually only one. So that's a little bit of a bummer on this particular design. I tried putting it on the other side, and I think I'll roll in a picture. Yeah, I forgot that this was curved, so it ended up just curving out the other side. Very, very strange, because you could, if this were a straight clip and a little bit shorter, you could make it reversible, but that's a bit of a nitpick. Is this an ambidextrous knife? Not really. This design, I mean, you can open it left-handed, but closing it, this frame lock isn't the most comfortable to try and squeeze in. So I don't know. For me, not a lefty carry, especially since you can't reverse the clip to the other side. The pivot mechanism is riding on bearings, which is partly why it opens so well with this dinky little flipper tab. And I did do one modification here, and this is going to begin our normal talking points. So as you can see, there is one clip screw, but that is not how it comes. It comes with two clip screws, and the other one goes right in there, if you can see it. I think you can see the hole that's bored out there. Yeah, when you put that screw in, it protrudes just as much from the handle as this one, because they're not recessed, and it is an absolute pocket grabber. It makes this knife basically unusable to carry. So yeah, my recommendation is if you buy this knife, take it out of the box, take a Torx, driver, back that screw out, back this one out, put some Loctite on it, and put this one back in. Because that's all you really need. I've been running it with just one screw on there for months, maybe over a year now, and it's been totally fine. So yeah, take out that second screw and all your troubles will be solved with this knife. There are no other deal breakers in this design. In my opinion, the philosophy of use for this knife is a high-end EDC blade. The blade on this guy is very nice. I enjoy the M390 quite a bit. Good deal of corrosion resistance, good deal of sharpness. Here's my skin and my hair, and it just goes right through it. Oh god, I need to wipe this off. Yeah, quite a shaving sharp edge on there. This material is quite good at cutting. Let me pull some paper out here. This is some copy paper. Now, granted, I have sharpened the edge on here, so this isn't a factory edge. Yeah, it's a very slicey blade. A little bit of cardboard. Not much issue. Yeah. Part of the performance comes from the blade being very skinny. Part of it comes from the entirely consistent belly on here. There's no point where you're riding a whole big portion of the blade edge. You're riding just the tip of a curve at any given time. And then this very nice distal taper on here comes to a mean point. Like this part of the blade that's sticking out right here, this does most of the work that this knife can put in. You can really dig into stuff, penetrate pretty far. And that, makes this little cutout right here very useful, because if you're stabbing into a material, you might just fly right in there, and it's good to have this anchor point for your hand. I do have a medium-sized hand, and almost running out of real estate on here. If you have a very big hand, this might be kind of an issue for you on this particular knife model. The handles, I do like them. I think they are very professional, discreet looking, while still having an element of class. I like that stone wash. Really gives it a nice dull luster on there, which contrasts nicely with the sort of, carbon fiber almost has like a chatoyance to it, like a deep wood grain, or like a cast acrylic on a fountain pen would have. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this design. Not really sure what these holes are. You can ask Jesper Volksnaes about that, I guess. I wouldn't have done it. I probably would have left them off, but I don't know. Do you think it adds to the character of this blade, or just kind of an afterthought maybe? I like the way that the titanium protrudes here. Gives your fingers a little more to wrap around, so that's nice. In this case, the shadow box design is working because it's, rounded off, radiused, not quite chamfered. There is a little bit of chamfering right here, which is interesting. I guess this is where your finger slides, right, as you actuate the flipper tab. So yeah, not entirely sure what this is about on the titanium there. So if you know, go ahead and put it in the comments below. I'd love to hear why that's there. In terms of the hardware on this guy, it is a can't remember. I think it's a free spinning pivot, which is kind of a bummer here in 2022. I hope we're getting past that on the whole as a knife community, and I think we are. But yeah, just be warned, you may need two Torx head screws, or Torx head drivers rather, sorry, in order to undo the pivot. I have taken this knife apart, I just can't recall if it's free spinning. I'm pretty sure it is though. The clip is okay. It is deep carry, and it does ride in the pocket. I'll show you how deeply it rides in the pocket right now. You can see it's a pretty deep carry. Again, if you don't remove that second screw, this is going to be way, way harder to get in and out of the pocket. You can see how much grip that curvature lends it. So yeah, just be careful, remove that screw. Should be pretty good to go. Yeah, the clip's all right. It is also sort of stone washed, has a decent look to it. I have not sprung it out yet, which is good. If you do happen to spring it out, you can remove it and bend it back to shape. So yeah, I like that aspect of it. There's a little bit of a backspacer here. It does have some kind of little details grooved in. It is also stone washed, which is nice. Really helps it blend in seamlessly with the design. The handles are quite stiff. There's no flex in them, so that's nice. Has a nice robust feel. The size and weight considerations, yeah, this is a very lightweight and long and lean knife for getting stuff done, in my experience. It really sails through cardboard and, tape, not an issue. Paper, not a problem. You might want to be a little bit careful with the tip. I don't know if I'd go digging around for zip ties or ratchet straps with this, and that's why I'm not categorizing this as a work knife. Let's go and check the blade centering, something I forgot to do. And it's perfectly centered. How about that? How do you like that? This is a very nice design. I like Italian knives. They tend to be very well made, and this one's no exception. There is a lanyard hole, yes. Lanyard hole, which is integrated into a handle design. Thank you, Viper Knives, for making it subtle. Let's talk about one sticking point that I have with this knife, and it has to do with the lock bar. The lack of the steel insert gives this a little bit of lock stick. The titanium deforms a little bit too much against the steel, and so instead of the lock disengaging smoothly, you end up with kind of a click as it jumps out of the way. Now, this isn't much of a problem with the way I close this blade, which is pushing the handle over and then gently touching the back. I have before closed this knife on my thumbnail simply because of that lock stick. If you end up putting pressure on the backside and disengaging the lock, you can guillotine it on your finger, so be aware of that. I also have questions about the long-term durability of this lock, given that it has no blade insert. I'm not sure why they, went without one. Maybe because the knife is so skinny in this dimension. I've noticed a lot of knives, when they're really thin this way, tend to make compromises in the design in order to make things actually fit together, because you're getting quite a bit of knife in a very slick, slim package. So, everything's a compromise, and, blade design is no exception to that rule. The detent on this knife is absolutely perfect. I don't know, if it was Jesper who devised this opening mechanism, but the relationship between where the flipper tab sits and the pivot is absolutely perfect. There's no other way it could be and still have a functional knife with this tiny of a flipper tab. It is just perfectly dialed in. The detent is perfect. The flipper tab position is perfect. The amount of grip that the jimping imparts on your finger, basically perfect. And it's obviously not a push button action. It is very light switch style, so kind of flicking it like that. Yeah, it's just really good. And there is a little bit of jimping on the spine for when you get it open if you really need to bear down. But I don't see this as like a super hard use knife, but you know, your experience may vary. So let's talk a little bit about the price point and some competition and some size comparisons before we get out of here. So at $172, $173 last I checked, that's a hefty price for a knife. You know, you've got a lot of competition in that zone. In my opinion, one of the main competitors is going to be this. This is the Kaiser Bickleiter, and this is a killer design. Also very thin, also frame lock, also titanium handles, riding on bearings, with a very tiny flipper tab. So yeah, that is a pretty direct competition for this blade, not to mention they are very, very similar in terms of proportion. So yeah, Kaiser Bickleiter in the titanium handle, definitely an option in this price range. You know, good old paramilitary too. Good for size comparison and good comparison for so many blades, since it is very common. If you don't own one, you've probably handled one. This one's a little bit beefier, you know, it's a military style design knife, so it's got a bit more reach, a bit more handle, especially handle. I think another knife that competes with this knife in terms of its philosophy of use is going to be the Spyderco Chaparral in the FRN handles. Now, this is a little bit of a different design, but it is quite a thin blade, pretty good rust resistance. It is a bit smaller. It's, you know, a good amount cheaper than your Viper Knives Belone, but I would put it in the same sort of category. Like if I am going out for the day and I want a knife that doesn't get in my way, is how I'm going to phrase this. If it doesn't have any sort of outstanding issues, if I know it's going to perform well and kind of take what I throw at it, these are the kinds of knives I'm going to grab, and so that's why the Chaparral is here. That's the Viper Knives Belone. I've really been enjoying this knife. My friend Gabe got me this knife for Christmas, I think, 2 years ago, and yeah, it has been one of my prized knives ever since then. I love the design. I love the lines on this knife. I think they are strong and sleek. Overall, really enjoyable knife to carry, enjoyable knife to own, enjoyable knife to look at and to fidget with. It does kind of suck that lefties are kind of left out here. I would buy it again if I lost it. So there you go. That's my endorsement. I've been Joe. You've been watching Ink&Iron. Thank you for joining me on this review. For more content like this, go ahead and like, sub, do the things. I've got tons more knives, as you've seen. Also do multi-tools. I got rollerball pens, fountain pens, and I do typewriter stuff around here too. So if you like that kind of thing, show the support, and I'll catch you on my next video. Bye.